Loving people who love us back is easy. But what about those who betray us, the ones who mock us, the ones who make our lives miserable, the ones who would rather see us fail than to bless us? What if Jesus is calling us to love them anyway? Jesus calls us to something radical, to love even our enemies. Hey there, I'm Jonathan, and welcome to 7-Minute Meditations. I'm glad you're here. Over the next 7 minutes or so, we're going to take a look at a passage from the Bible. We're going to really let it soak in and change the way we think, feel, and live. Let's begin by reading this passage. In Matthew chapter 5, Jesus says, "You have heard that it was said, 'Love your neighbor and hate your enemy.' But I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, so that you may be children of your Father in heaven. For He causes His sun to rise on the evil and the good, and sends rain on the righteous and the unrighteous. For if you love those who love you, what reward will you have? Don't even the tax collectors do the same? And if you greet only your brothers and sisters, what are you doing out of the ordinary? Don't even the Gentiles do the same? Be perfect, therefore, as your heavenly Father is perfect." Let's begin with a little stillness here. Take a deep breath in through your nose and slowly exhale through your mouth. Again, breathe in deep in through your nose, slowly out through your mouth. As we reflect on Jesus' call to love our enemies, let's take a moment and calm our minds and open our hearts to His words. Loving our enemies goes against everything our human nature tells us. We naturally want to distance ourselves from those who hurt us or even get back at them, right? But Jesus teaches a different way, a way that reflects the heart of our Father in heaven. Loving our enemies makes us more like God, who blesses both the good and the evil. And true love, it isn't based on what we get in return. It's a choice to show grace, just as God has shown us grace. Jesus challenges us. If we only love those who love us, how are we any different from the rest of the world? Let's pause for a moment and think of someone who's been difficult to love. Maybe a coworker, maybe a family member, maybe even someone who's wronged you deeply. Who comes to mind for you? Now, normally at this point, I lead you in a prayer of response, but let's do something a little different today. That person who came to your mind for you, that one who's difficult to love, what do you feel as you think about that person? Annoyance, frustration, anger, disgust, betrayal, abandonment, disappointment, powerlessness, grief, sadness? Did one of those words feel right to you? If not, take a moment to think of one that does. And when you feel that right word, where in your body do you feel it? In your chest? In the pit of your stomach? Maybe like a weight on your shoulders. Take a deep breath in, slowly out through your mouth. That word you feel, right now, tell it to your Heavenly Father. Father, I feel, and then just give Him that word. Just acknowledge it to Him. This isn't necessarily some sin you're confessing. This is you being honest with the God who is also your Father about what you feel. Tell Him where you feel it. Father, I feel that word right here. And tell Him where in your body you feel it. And take another breath in through your nose, slowly out through your mouth. I'm going to read part of this verse again. Listen. But I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, so that you may be children of your Father in heaven. For He causes His sun to rise on the evil and the good, sends rain on the righteous and the unrighteous. Do you feel those words of Jesus? Let them sink in a moment. Take a big breath in, slowly out through your mouth. Now, say a prayer for that person you thought of. Ask God to work in their life for their good. And if you're struggling to do this, ask Him to help you see them as He does. This doesn't mean excusing wrong behavior or pretending the hurt didn't happen. What it means is choosing to release anger and respond with God's love instead. Take a moment to ask yourself, who in my life do I struggle to love? How can I choose to show kindness to that person this week? What would it look like for you to genuinely pray for their well-being? You know, Jesus doesn't call us to love only when it's easy. He calls us to love like He does, freely and unconditionally. Here's your challenge for today. Do one small act of love for someone who's difficult to love. It could be a prayer. It could be a kind word. It could be a simple act of generosity. It doesn't have to be big, but it does have to be intentional. And if you'd like to share in the comments something small you'll do today to love like Jesus, please do. And remember, if you're struggling with this, you don't have to do it alone. Ask for help from God, from a friend, from a trusted pastor. And if this video has been helpful for you, share it with someone who'll find it meaningful as well. And if you have another 7 minutes, check out one of the other videos in the playlist at the end of this video. And have a great day, mindfully walking with Jesus. I can't wait to see you back here tomorrow.